What is FIRPTA?
So FIRPTA is a foreign national tax, right? And so whenever you have a foreigner that owns a property in their personal name and they're a foreigner, they will be required to have a tax withholding. So that's very
when we're saying foreigner, it's somebody who doesn't have a residence, somebody who doesn't have a green card or the U.S. passport.
Correct. Yes.
So even you hear on like a B2, E2, J1, whatever,
you don't have a social security number. Yes.
But no, hold on. Let's talk about it. Because you can call foreigner somebody who, like, there are people who have social security, but they're on a visa, they don't have residency.
Okay.
So like they don't have the green card yet. So, but they have social security. Will that count as foreigner?
But are they here on a particular type of visa?
Yeah, they're here on a visa, or let's say they're waiting for their, like political status. They can work, but not, they can work only temporary until their case is resolved. So when you say in the foreigner, is it the person who already resident with a green card, or it's enough to be just the person with a right to work and having the social security?
I know that with a foreign national, somebody that doesn't have a social, but like you said, there could be somebody that does have a social and they're paying their taxes, they're filing their income tax. There might be just in a special status waiting for their residency. So I don't know what that classification would be if they were to purchase a property, right? Because... And I'm just trying to think of examples, because there's been people that have been here on like a working visa, and they've been working here and they've been able to get traditional loans. So they might not be qualified as per se foreign nationals, because they are paying, they're here to stay, they're here legally, and they're paying their income taxes on an annual basis. They're filing their tax returns and they're living here. So that may qualify them to be,
I feel like FIRPTA, it's only for people who realistically, it's only investment properties.
Yes, it's
so
only investment.
You cannot be living there.
Correct.
So realistically, people who, like the ones which I was talking about, who have social security, right, and who live here, they are, like, I have a lot of clients who they don't, like, they're still in a status, but they don't, they don't have a green card or the passport yet.
Right.
Yet they can purchase a home for themselves,
right?
But this is not part of FIRPTA because
exactly
they live there.
Exactly.
Anyways.
Yes.
So pretty much, so foreigners, if they purchase in their own name,
correct,
then they have to
have a tax withholding. So I want to touch on the key word. It's a withholding, because a lot of people think a FIRPTA is a tax, and it's not. It's a withholding, so that the IRS actually keeps the money on the day of the closing to ensure that that foreigner is actually going to file their income tax return, in order to then figure out what is their tax basis in order to collect the taxes, right? And so for anybody that is selling a property over $300,000, and that person that's buying is not buying it for as an owner occupant, basically there will be a 15% of the sales price withholding that will go and be sent over to the IRS. And then the following year, the seller of the property, the foreigner, will have to file a tax return in order to declare what was their gain on this particular investment, and then from that gain there's a 20% income tax that needs to be paid. So the 15% of the purchase price is usually more than enough.
20%
more
of the gain.
Exactly, more than enough to cover the basis for the taxes. And that's where it hurts, because there's a lot of foreigners that do purchase here, especially in South Florida, that are just not educated properly on how to structure their purchase from the beginning. And unfortunately, if you don't structure the purchase from the beginning, you're stuck. There's nothing you can do, because even if during your ownership you're like, oh man, let me assign it to an LLC, it's too late. Now you are bound to the FIRPTA withholding. So it's really important that those bases are covered, and this is where it's important to have an agent, because usually you'll start speaking to an agent, right? And then that agent at least gives you the basic knowledge about what is FIRPTA and what they will need to be dealing with when the property is ready to be sold. And so, because I run into these situations a lot, and clients are they have a bad taste in their mouth after they were like, well, hold on, I had this realtor, like they never mentioned anything to me. And it's not that they didn't want to mention anything to them. It's just that they didn't know any better, right?
Well, sometimes realtors like, oh, you didn't ask, I didn't answer kind of situation. And that's where I feel like a real professional will be like, hey, let me guide you. Those are the things you might want to explore. This.
Exactly. And they may still make a decision to buy in their personal name, but at least you know that you've done your job as a professional to educate them. Right. And it was their choice, They can never come back to you and say, hey, you didn't tell me this, or if I would have known this, then I would have done it a different way. But another key thing, so how to, and I want to use the word loosely, avoid, because there is no avoiding paying taxes. Correct. Right? The taxes have to be paid, but there is a way to avoid having to have a withholding of 15% of your sales price. That's a lot of money. Correct. To be just held for over a year in the IRS's account, that cannot be used. Right? They can do whatever they want with that money. So there is a way that you can structure somebody that's a foreigner, and that is incorporate a C Corp. So that is the only corporation where you can actually have or avoid the withholding, right? So that's a C Corp. But again, I always I give information on the surface to my clients, and I'm like, I can connect you with somebody that's a professional in that field. I'm going to just let you know that I know for sure C Corp is the way to go, but they can talk to you about all the other specifics of what the requirements will be on the annual filings and everything like that. So that way, that portion of the education comes from that specific professional that's going to be working with them going forward, right? And so that's another thing too that I think a lot of realtors sometimes, we try to do so much and provide so much value that sometimes we try to be the jack of all trades, and that's just impossible.
Advices.
There you go. Very good. So we shouldn't be giving tax advice, right? So that's why you need to team up with a CPA.
The tax advice in this country,
no,
unless you were learned.
Yes, you're licensed, and this is your trade, right? Yep. And so that's where we as realtors, yes, we wear a lot of hats, right? So we need to know stuff, at least something on the, on the base or on the surface, to have basic knowledge to educate them and have common knowledge to know, like, hey, this is outside of my scope, but I know this is the basics, and this is a great person that I work with that I can refer you to, that I highly recommend that you continue this conversation. And so that's very important, that you as a realtor create all of these outside relationships that are an aspect of your business, right? That do play an important role in your business. And so that's something that I definitely recommend that agents, when they do start, ask people around, hey, who's your CPA? Who's a tax attorney that you've worked with? I mean, we have a great network, through social media and stuff like that. Like, you can get the information, but you have to have the common sense to know that these are people that I need to have in my circle.
And also to have just the common sense of understanding that sometimes, like, just to give it an opportunity that certain things might have a better solution. Just like to be open to that there might be something you don't know.
Right.
And just be able to, like, hey, I don't know it.
Yeah.
Is there something better which I have to know?
And you know what? There are things that you will ask me that I'm like, I am not sure about that question. Yep. But guess what? That's something I have the resources, and I will make my phone calls, and I will educate. Now it gives me the opportunity. And those are the conversations with clients, right, that we have, that I feel like I tell you, every person you meet, they're more inquisitive, so they ask more questions. And this is where you grow as a person, because there's questions, right? And there's questions that they ask that I'm like, nobody has ever asked me this question. This is a great question. I don't have the answer for you right now, so I don't want to give you the wrong answer, but I will reach out to my resources, I will get all the details, and then I will get back to you with the answers, right? And so the moral of this whole thing is that don't try to answer a question just because you want to sound smart, or you want to sound, or you don't want to sound stupid because you didn't know the answer right there. Research it. It's okay to say, great question, I will research it, and I will get back to you.
Yep. And then also, like, we evolving, like, hello, like, crypto transactions were not existing, and we all were like, oh wait, you can buy real estate with crypto.
Yeah.
And like the whole year we were like, oh, conferences, the confused title companies, can we do it, cannot we do it, what can we do it, what is this? Now the whole title in the blockchain, well, hello, it's gonna happen eventually, right? So we all again, okay, let's take this learning curve, and
I'm gonna be honest with you, that learning curve is like, I'm not there yet.
You're like, hello, crypto.
No.
We're not. We just got used to the whole paper trail.
I know crypto has, slowed down a little bit, so I'm very happy with that, because at the rate that it was going, I was not ready for it.
You're like, I just opened the title company, the old school title company.
Exactly, and I'm like, woo. So it took a little break, and I'm very happy about that.
But we do know title companies which close out.
Absolutely. Yes.
So
yes.
We can help out.
And you know what? We have to embrace the change, right? I mean, the change is coming. We have to be constantly have to be evolving, growing, learning. And then that's the beauty of it. So you have to be ready for that change. And so sometimes it's uncomfortable. Sometimes it's like you're so used to doing things one way, speaking of New Yorkers and their attorneys. But, it is hard to change. I'm not going to lie.
A friend of mine came to do the real estate here after 10 years spent in New York.
Yeah.
And she's like, how do you fill out the contract? And I was like, what do you mean?
I would have expected you to know. You've been 10
basic.
years.
And she's like, no, we find the client and then we just transfer the client. Hand off to attorney. And I was like, what?
Yeah.
So all you do is like literally, just like showing the units and, finding things and prospecting and finding the right property. But everything when it comes to the paperwork, it's to the attorneys.
Yeah. No, I mean, we here in South Florida, I know that realtors are held to a whole other standard, right? And so realtors sometimes have a bad rep because they're just like not really understanding what they're filling out, right? And then it's very, very important that the client also understands what they're filling out. And so if I can give one word of advice, right, to people that are working in a transaction, like if you are working with a realtor that maybe, hasn't been recommended or you don't have knowledge about, it's just somebody that you met, make sure that you ask questions. Make sure that whatever you're filling out or whatever you're signing initially, like you really understand what it is that you're doing. Now, if you are working with a reputable agent, you've looked them up, you've seen their reviews, they were recommended by somebody else, like you probably can put your guard down a little bit. But if you still review your contract, know what you're doing, but like your guard is not over here. You know what I mean? Like definitely there's a trust factor. And so I feel like, just be smart about your money and be smart about your transaction. And also if you're going to know very quickly if the realtor knows what they're doing or if they don't know what they're doing. Because once you start asking them questions about the contract and they're not able to answer them on the fly, there might be a problem. So
or at least if they have a resources and they show you, because we still sometimes we have realtors which are new but which are brilliant and and they're amazing and like we all know that they're gonna be a superstars like in a couple of years.
Yes,
they just knew, but at the end of the day, if they have resources and desire to find those answers, absolutely. But by the time you're at the point of signing a contract, even if you're a new agent, you really need to know what it is that you're filling out. Yep. So, maybe you need to refer back to that line to answer the question, but you'll be able to answer the question. You're not like, oh, I don't know, I just checked it off because I was told to check it off, like, no. Like I just lost the contract. I mean, it was a lease and it was just like so stupid. Like I never lost a lease over that. It's there was like the the maintenance part where you have to check either
the elective maintenance.
It's literally says either or.
Yeah.
And I had a realtor who sends me the contract with the check marks and both on all of them. And I was like, well, wait, so who's responsible?
Right.
And she's like, well, that's what my client wants. And I'm like, well, it's not necessarily what your client wants.
Right.
We're here to guide our clients what is the right way to do things.
Right.
Yes, we can negotiate who is responsible for this or who's responsible for this.
Yeah.
But we cannot just be check marking all of the boxes just because they're there.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, the contract is like my friend Cynthia always tell me, well, put a hat that that this contract goes to court.
Yeah.
How are you gonna fight for it?
Yeah.
If the check boxes, all of them are marked.
Right.
So I had to involve the broker, and the broker unfortunately gave me the same pretty much answer. That's what her clients want to do, and I was like, oh,
yeah.